Hi, I'm Marisol. I did the Pinyon-Juniper ecosystem. It is an ecosystem that is in a short grass area with drier lands and shrubs that don't require a big water source, but still a water source. It has trees that don't need as much water and rain constantly that can survive not as much without it, and those type of ecosystems like the pinyon juniper and others are huge in the Rocky Mountains, which it is mostly in. And the juniper ecosystem is over 5 million acres and possibly even more. It covers a lot of the western Colorado and central Colorado. We can see in the western slope. It is the home of a lot of species such as the Colorado pinyon pine, many other pine trees, juniper trees, the home of mule deer, elk, desert cottontails, the pinyon juniper bird. Many insects and bugs live within the trees too, along with chipmunks and mice and coyotes live in the pinyon juniper ecosystem as well. Some things about it is that in the past, natives have used it as a fresh firewood source, along with shelter, medicine, with the sap and the wild berries, along with it being a food source. It is a good source nowadays for still firewood and building material, which is a huge one, and a biomass and fuel energy source, which helps with cars and the train traveling that we use a lot in our society, along with shelter for livestock, which is huge also in the western slope. Currently, though, it is having an increased vegetation, which is not good, as it kind of sounds good, but it isn't. And with the droughts happening, that's not helping either, along with the beetle infestation that we'll get more into. But all of these are kind of working together that create a severe problem for the pinyon juniper ecosystem. And going into that, increased vegetation meaning trees are sprouting their seeds too much, which meaning that their roots are growing too close and clenching each other, creating weaker trees when they get older. With the weaker trees, not as strong bark and not as much sap, which is making them more susceptible to a bark beetle, which is a beetle that digs under bark through the trunk, chews through it, and into the core of a tree, which leaves a sappy looking red type of look on a tree. And it's actually killing the tree, reducing its growth and leaving not much left and not allowing it to reproduce, which leading is kind of all a chain reaction, which leads it to being more susceptible to fires. So shrubs and trees that are dead can actually help fires spread, obviously. And we know about fires with the past three that happened in these past few months. So all of this is a chain reaction with vegetation leading to the beetle, the bark beetle, to fires. So once one issue happens, it's like more of it's happening, and it only takes one little beetle, as you can tell. So, and it can harm all these trees, which doesn't help anyone, especially us, because we rely so much on an energy source coming from the trees with firewood, lumber. We have many resources such as biomass fuel, obviously, as a big one, and sap used in many things that we don't think of, shampoo, lotion, medicine, which is surprising. And we should think about our health when we think of inhaling the smoke for too long. And we just inhaled smoke for 2 to 3 weeks when the fires were going on. And I recently learned that if we inhale smoke for up to 10% of our life, we can actually reduce our lifespan severely. And that's obviously a lot of time of inhaling smoke, but not impossible considering what we just went through. So that's why we should care about the health of that type of ecosystem could actually hurt our society and where we're living and affect how we live in Grand Junction and the Western Slope. Some solutions are cutting down the trees, as crazy as that sounds, and removing some shrubs, but it relieves more space in between plants, which means less weaker roots and shoots growing, making the trees more resistant to the bark beetle. Also, I've thought about maybe killing the bark beetle or harming it, like a spray, but that can sound kind of drastic. But thinking of that, I thought of a scientific technology that I learned recently in biology called CRISPR, which changes the DNA sequence of an organism and actually can make the trees more resistant to a bark beetle. So, with that being said, we could change the gene function to where a tree can be more resistant and grow stronger without being affected as much when a bark beetle goes into it, or even use the CRISPR technique on the bark beetle itself with changing the genomes within the beetle and making it to where it can't have as sharp as teeth or be as harmful to the trees and plants. But all these solutions obviously take a lot of time. It's not like we can just do it once and it'll work. We have to wait for them to reproduce and it to keep happening, generations. And no solution's going to take a day or two, obviously. So, with that being said, I think any solution would take time. It's like a garden. If you want to take care of it, it's going to take time. You can't just water the plants once and expect it to be fine for the rest of the year. But I think if we care about it this much as we should, the ecosystem can succeed in being healthier, which will help us better with what we get out of it and how our society lives, especially being in the center of the Pinyon-Juniper ecosystem and around it 24/7. I think we need to make sure we are helping, doing everything we can to take care of this ecosystem. So, yeah, and that's my works cited page, and that's all. Thank you.